All right, let's go motherboard shopping. We have just picked out our processor. And so here I am on the processor's page. What I did on Newegg, I clicked on my cart. And there's the dude I bought, or going to be buying. Okay, now the big thing is I need to find a motherboard that I can plug this processor into. If they are not compatible, we are out of luck. And that, as you can imagine, is bad. Okay, but it tells us exactly what we need here in the big bold-faced title deal. And you see LGA 1155. That is the, what do you call it? Yeah, the slot or whatever. I don't know, the format. And you're always going to see that on anything in Newegg anyway. Any processor will tell you right there in the title. This makes it a lot easier for buying, and I highly recommend you utilizing that. So we don't have to know what LGA 1155 exactly means. It's just a kind of slot. It's a hole. We have a round peg, and that's the round hole. So don't get something else. Don't go with LGA 9 million or whatever. We don't have to be experts on all this stuff, and it's already set up to be pretty consumer friendly. So let's just kind of be idiots about it, and we can go ahead and actually, if you look down here, they already have one recommended for us because they want $1 million for it. But well, I think that's a combo, which means for $516 we get this processor and that motherboard, which that may be awesome. And a lot of times these recommended things can save you a whole lot of time. So keep that in mind, whatever. Okay, but we're going to do it the old-fashioned way. I am actually going to go to the main Newegg page and find motherboards. And this is a Intel processor, so we need an Intel motherboard. And then we're given the option of, well, a whole bunch of stuff. We haven't really broke it down too far. We still need to find that LGA 1155 business. And we can look here at CPU socket type, and you can see it. We have 275 to choose from. Hope that's enough. Okay, and here's the thing. You're going to see all kinds of these. And in theory, all of these are compatible. And we'll get to that here in a little bit. But, see, this one's $279. And this one, $150. The price is $70. The prices range tremendously based on features and the brand. And in a lot of ways, this is kind of like buying a car, where what does a $65,000 car do that a $15,000 Hyundai doesn't do? And it comes down to finesse and maybe some features and stuff, but a lot of times those features aren't necessary. They're just luxuries, but sometimes they're more than that. So kind of tricky there. We'll get into all that. What I'm going to do first is break this down a little bit further. I'm generally a fan of, I've had good luck with Intel processor with an Intel motherboard. Of course, I really can't remember having bad luck with really any motherboard. So even going with super cheap stuff, which I've done in the past, I threw together these quad-core computer for like $400, 2008, 2009, something like that. So it can be done, but running out of features is a scarier proposition. Either way, let's just go with Intel to make life a little easier for us. Those other brands, almost all of them are probably pretty good, but we'll get into that too. Okay, so, right off the bat, we see $230 motherboard and a $90 motherboard. So let's look at the exact difference, because in theory, they should be pretty much the same damn thing, right? Well, not necessarily. Let's look. Okay, now the first thing we need to look at is I see this in the title, which if it's in the title, it's probably important. Intel Z77. You see it right here. They don't tell us what that means. And I know what it means, but here's how I learned it. And I can go to Google. Well, if I tried the right button. And good old Wiki here will explain what a Z77 is. Let's find out. Okay, these look familiar. I saw these on other thingies. All right, Z77. This is just a chipset. So this gets into what we may find in our manual, and it's not as common now, but in the old days, audio interfaces were very picky. They wouldn't work with this chipset. They would work with this one, and nah. So you may find in your sound grade audio interface or whatever brand it is, but they may say, don't use Z77. Well, don't use Z77 then. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Now, what these remind me a lot, these chipsets, they're kind of packages of features. Things like RAID, which means well, you don't even care about RAID, but just how many USB ports they have and things like that. It's kind of like, you got the cheapo car with the DX version, and maybe there's more of a luxury SE version of a car, and then your sports cars, the GT. You kind of get that business going on. I don't really care about the bulk package, and as long as our audio interface doesn't mind, I like to look at individual features. It's just simpler for me. I don't want to have to memorize what a P67 is or whatever. See, where are we at? I got too many tabs going on here. Okay, and now you noticed on this particular page that you're looking at right now, I wrote some text to convert all these features into English, because for some reason, computer jargon, they have to use stupid terms for everything just to make things confusing, because no one talks that way. Okay, so what I can do is I click on details. Okay, we see this is an Intel processor or a motherboard. It's we'll do the LGA 1155, and we'll see our Core i7 there, so we're looking good. It's using some kind of chipset called a Northbridge H67, whatever. We talked about that. Memory is RAM. Expansion slots are PCI card type thingies, and that really just depends on what you want to, if you'd ever need to add anything like a UAD card. I think mine uses a PCI Express 2.0 X16, which means if I use this motherboard, I could be out of luck. I can't remember if that's an X16 or not, to be honest, so don't quote me on the UAD part, but just remember that if you have one of these, then you're officially out. So just keep that in mind if you demand this 2.0 X16 business. So what this does have is a PCI slot, which is great for me because my audio interface is an old school RME HDSP 9652. And that allows me to keep using that here in the future, so that's good. Now, it only has one, though, so if I needed any other PCI things, like a networking card or, I don't know, whatever I would invent, then there it is. So, moving on, like the storage devices is hard drives. I don't know why they call them storage devices. You have the SATA 3 gigabytes per second, which was a slightly older version of format of hard drives or speed class or whatever you want to call it. And then the newer version now is the SATA 6, which in theory is supposed to be twice as fast at shoving data in and out, whatever. But this means is we can put it up to 3 of the old school hard drives or only 2 of the new ones. So for a total of 5, I think. Yes. So, whatever there. I've never had 5 hard drives on a computer, and that would probably cover me forever. However, I'd have to be real careful that if in the future I bought another hard drive that I had slots for it. If I don't have the SATA 6 ports open, that could cause trouble. So that's a little bit of an issue, but not a big deal. Onboard video, it says right here that it's going to chew up CPU power to power this video. Well, that's terrible. So we're going to buy a video card for sure. We don't want to use that. Onboard audio, we don't care. We're audio guys. We don't need that junk. Onboard LAN is a network card. Again, I don't know why I call it LAN, but that means we can connect our little Ethernet port right into that dude there. Rear panel ports is the stuff in the back of the computer we can plug in. HDMI, USB 2.0, DVI, USB 3.0, etc. Nothing, not a big deal there. And then the internal thing means that if we choose to buy a case that has front USB ports, we can hook them up to 8 of them up to the front. So that's kind of cool. And then the form factor is the size of the motherboard. Back in the old days, there was like 10 different ones, and it was just a big mess, and you always had to pick the right one. Now they're all micro ATX or ATX. It's almost a non-issue, but I always give that a quick glance over just to be safe. Okay, so looking at this motherboard, it's got everything we need to do the job. Now, we could run out of some PCI slots. I know I would, right away be out after this one, but at least it has the one, so I can run my audio interface on it. And it looks like I can run one video card using this guy, and I can't remember for sure what my UAD card needed, but possibly that one. So it looks like I'm going to max this thing out with only one PCI Express slot left, so that could get a little bit scary. Now, the other factor is the hard drives, and 5 is plenty, but only 2 6.6 gigabyte per second drives, SATA 6, is a bit of concern in the future. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I can always get SATA 3s, but I may want to get that extra performance. I don't know. So overall, this motherboard is a little bit lean. It's equivalent. It's kind of like buying a small house where you know things are going to get tight when that second kid comes, you know? So for the money, probably great. And the other factor about this motherboard, it's a big deal, is the rating. And we've got 66 dudes, and these are all computer nerds, and they'll give you their real-life experiences. I don't need to explain that to you. But as we saw on this one, this $230 motherboard, reviews are decidedly lower. And so that could be a factor. There may be an issue with this particular motherboard where we need to stay clear of it. So also always factor in the reviews, obviously. Okay. Now, again, the same socket type. And then this has this fancier chipset, which it said it was optimized for Intel K processors. Well, we didn't get a K processor. You may remember that was $20 extra. I stick to my budget. That's the end of it. Although they do have a combo here, which has grabbed my attention just a little bit. Always look at those combos, because sometimes they will give you a bargain. It's only 15 bucks off, but that actually would get us into K land. Something to think about. Okay, and let's see. It's the correct motherboard socket, or CPU socket. It's got our Core i7. We're good. This fancy Z77. Great, whatever. Memory slots. That was something I probably should have looked at on the other one. We got it open right here. How'd it do on RAM? Okay, it had a maximum of 32 gigabytes, which means we could put 4 8-gig chips in it. That's pretty cool. And this is the same. So no real hyper advantage there. Now let's look real quick at the memory standard, which is the format of RAM it uses, or the speed of RAM. Sometimes the fancier motherboards will get us some higher numbers. That isn't always a mega deal, but worth looking at. Yeah, this dude can do this DDR3 2400. I don't know what that even means, but it's a bigger number than 1600 or a 1333 or 1066. And this one's max is, well, 1333. A million different? Probably not, but within reason. We'll get into the RAM business, but it's something to look at. So this can do faster RAM if we're so inclined. But it does give us this little detail here that we have to go up to 1600 and use that guy if we're going to use the third generation Intel Core, which we are, which is the Ivy Bridge. Okay, expansion slots. Okay, we have a whole lot more slots. We have 2 PCI slots, so that means I can use my audio interface, and I still have a spare. I like that a whole lot. And then we still have 2 PCI Express standards, plus this other 4-speed one, which, whatever, it's just a faster version. And these are downward compatible, so we could probably put a PCI Express by 1 into that guy, most likely. I don't remember. I have to look it up. And then we've got 2 of the super fast guys. So one will probably be for the video card. The other one, who knows? And so it's kind of nice to have that option. Okay, and going down to the hard drives, we've got 4 for the older, I hate to say slower because these are really fast drives, but for the older SATA 3 format, and then we have 4 for the SATA 6. So we can plug in up to 8 hard drives on this motherboard. That's crazy, and I've never seen that done, unless you're getting into like servers and stuff. Okay, it's got onboard video, but the integrated graphics are going to chew up the CPU power. Not an option. We're not going to do that, period, on a recorded computer. Ever. Onboard audio, who cares? Onboard LAN. Okay, so we have a network card built in. Actually, it says second one. I don't know what that's all about. So maybe we have 2 for double the speed, which I don't think really works that way for what we're doing. But anyway, so we're covered there. And then it's got a bunch of stuff in the rear panel. Okay, not a big deal. You look and see it's got USB 2.0 and 3.0. Everything has that. What is important to look at is FireWire. You see, this is IEEE1394A. Who invents these things? Why don't they just call it FireWire? It's shorter anyway. Okay, but did we have FireWire on the other motherboard? And if you got an interface that requires FireWire, guess what? That little guy won't work. It just doesn't have it. So, moving on. Okay, so we've got FireWire on the front if we choose to use it. 8 USB ports on the front if we choose to use it. And then we got the ATX form factor. So what we're really looking at, there's 2 big chunks or genres of issues here to concern ourselves with. One is the features. And we can tell that this $230 thing has a ton of them. And that's probably why we're paying so much. And this little guy he's a lot more lean, and it's very possible that we would outgrow it. And I've been in that situation where I think I bought some $60 motherboard once upon a time, and I did outgrow it. I had to get a new one because I was out of slots. We can actually see these right here. Let's take a look. See, these are the slots where you can plug in like PCI Express or PCI or the PCI Express times 16 fancier versions. But if you can't fit all your stuff into those, then you're just out of luck. So I'm a little leery about recommending going that lean unless you're just really broke, because it really stinks when you have to build a whole new computer simply and format Windows and you get to do all this stuff just because you need one extra slot. So the other factor is reliability, and that's what we're going to see mostly from user ratings. And I wouldn't buy this motherboard because the ratings are way too damn low. And in fact, for me, I don't hate the idea of going to just clicking on generico, let's see, Intel motherboards, not Intel brand, but Intel processor equipped motherboards, and click on our LGA 1155, and then I'll just sort by highest rating, or best rating, I guess. And then we're going to start seeing like ASRock, which is a cheaper brand. People love that thing. Now here's some monsters, Asus. I guess that's how you say that. $370, a gigabyte, which is a medium brand. I say medium, but look at the rating. So there are going to be 5.0s and such here. So I highly recommend going through these, and it can be quite tedious. And the scariest part is goofing up and getting something that's incompatible because you're factoring in too many of these things. So I kind of like working quick, to be honest. And so what I would do for me right away is say, okay, here's $140 ones. I'd figure out my price range, and let's just say my budget is $200. That's the end of it. Well, here's $140. Let's look at it real fast, because I don't want to miss out by overthinking too much, because I'll forget a certain feature. Okay, so we've got the LGA 1155. We're covered there. Reviews. Only 8 people reviewed it, but the reviews are high. Details. All right. We got good enough RAM, 32 gigabyte maximum. We've got one of a whole bunch of slots. See, that concerns me. And so I'd back out right away. I know I want 2 PCI slots because my audio interface uses one. All right, so let's keep on moving. Okay, Jetway. Now, that's the other thing. If you're new to this, you may not be familiar with these old names, but Intel and Asus have been around for years. Gigabyte's been around for a while. ASRock kind of too, but I never even heard of Jetway. And so I've had a motherboard for about 10 years ago where the company just went out of business. And it made it really difficult when I was trying to download drivers because, the website wasn't even up anymore. So I generally like to go with a name brand company that's been around for a while. And I would generally say Intel or Asus are your leaders, but you never know. And what I like to do to save time with this is, if I know my budget is $200, I will start looking for those right around the $200 mark that have great reviews. So that'll usually max out the features, because when you're trying to save tons and tons of money all the time, you can really like overthink this so much, and then that's when you goof up and forget about PCI slots or forget about something that means a lot to you. All right, so we got this Gigabyte guy, which is a good enough brand. It's not really known for being a Lexus or anything like that. It's not a Mercedes, but it's probably a really good Honda, most likely. And the fact this one's getting great reviews means it's a damn good Honda. Okay, so we got our chipset, and we got that whatever that chip. Excuse me, we got the socket, and then we got the chipset. There we go. Talking and not thinking. All right, and we'll scroll down here to details. Where's the damn details? Oh, there it is. Okay, we'll make sure we got what we need here. We have Core i7 covered. Cool. We got the right chipset. We got a lot of RAM options, up to 32 gig, which seems to be a common limit nowadays. Okay, we've got 3 of the monster. But see, I'm really concerned about that PCI slot. It may not be a huge deal, but particularly considering that we've got 3 of those and 3 of those, which means that if I happen to need a network card or just some kind of weird card, I could probably get it in PCI Express or a fancier, newer format. So that doesn't scare me near as bad. We've got 6 hard drive slots, but only 2 ultra fast ones. That's a little bit of a concern, but not a huge deal. In the rear, okay, we got a lot of good stuff there. All kinds of stuff on the inside. Not a whole lot to think about, and it's ATX. This really does meet pretty much all of my needs, and it does it for $184. I could probably go for this right now. It ain't a big deal. I do love the 5-point or whatever, the 5 egg rating there. That's a big deal for me. So you kind of have to balance your features, expandability, and overall reliability, and just name brand, whatever that's worth. I wouldn't hesitate to buy this right now. And I'm gonna put quite a bit of work into the text on this thing to make sure you guys are good at figuring out what your needs are. And so I know this was a long video and long-winded, and listening to me talk this long is probably tiring, but I wanted to cover, which is a pretty big topic. And once we get this motherboard figured out, it's fast from here. All right, guys, out.